we are going to look at everybody's favorite person, I believe. Hold on, let me pull this up. Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, who has recently been saying a lot of things on the internet. And this actually does include the following. Before the pandemic, not everybody was in the office 5 days a week, every week. If you or your child were sick, if you had some sort of house emergency, if you were on the road seeing customers or partners, if you needed a day or two to finish coding in the more isolated environment, people worked remotely. This was understood and will be moving forward as well. But before the pandemic, it was not given that folks could work remotely 2 days a week. And that will also be true moving forward. Our expectation is that people will be in the office outside of extenuating circumstances like those mentioned above. And if you have already have remote work exception approved through your S-Team leader. So one of those two things is what he's saying. So he's kind of building up this case that remote work is coming to an end. And he even said that we want to operate like the world's largest startup. And then just a couple days ago, on Bloomberg, he said the following. If you are a culture that invents a lot and collaborates a lot, some incoherent rambling where he stumbled on some words, if you don't have people in the office together doing that invention, it's just meaningfully worse. You don't invent. You don't collaborate the same way. You don't connect with each other the same way. You don't learn the culture the same way. And so, having people back in the office together more frequently, we felt very strongly, it would be better for customers and the business. End quote. Now, Casey, you've never actually had a real job before. And
right.
So since that is the case, how do you feel about this whole remote work and devs? Is it a requirement? Is it actually something that makes meaningful differences? Or is this just a fabrication of the man trying to hold us down with his real estate prices and trying to get these properties and these commercial properties rented, as I've been told on Reddit?
Well, I will say I did have a brush with the real job, because obviously when I worked at RAD, one of the things that we did do was we did there was a very large contract for Intel that was being done, and I got to kind of experience secondhand that amazing force of multi-level management, and it was pretty special. So I kind of have a vague idea of what goes on, but thankfully it was sort of like like more, sort of like on a whale watch. We kind of see it off the distance, doing its little breach thing. I don't have a lot to add to this. I feel like I wanted to mention one thing about that memo, and I feel like then you guys should probably have the majority of the reaction to this. The thing that struck me in that memo is it read almost like someone who was, getting up to give like a speech at a funeral, who had been like crying beforehand and was like just barely holding it together and just almost got the thing out and then just broke down anyway. And the reason I say that is because when I read it, there's this big, long, like 2-paragraph sort of thing in there that's like, look, we used to be really lean, and, we want to run like a big startup, and we're going to invent, and all these managers are everywhere, and they're ruining everything, and we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to come back to the office. It's going to be awesome, right? And it sounded like he really believed it. Like I was wicked into it. I'm like, okay, man, like, you know what? You've got a vision. You're going for it. That's cool. But then in like the very next paragraph, it was like, now there are some things like you're going to need to coordinate with your S team. I have no idea what that is.
I assume it means a team that's way better than the A team. Like,
and obviously there are... Yeah, okay.
It's a tier list. They rank all their teams into a tier list. S tier.
All
S tier size. All your you got to coordinate with your S team. Obviously, if you have a remote work exception, which was all capitalized, like that's the thing. So he was able to hold the like lean startup, we're not going to have managers together, for like only a few sentences, and then it went right back to like all of these Amazon jargon structural like things, and I'm just like, okay, you're still just gonna have like a bunch of middle managers. Like, you're not really fooling me. That was what I got out of the memo. Maybe I'm overreading it, but it was hilarious how quickly it went back into weird jargon stuff where it was just like, okay.
But Casey, can a company even escape that the size of Amazon, right? If you have 10,000 engineers, like, how can you not just have tons of middle management? Right, because you're going to have at least how many, like if you had for every 10 engineers, you had one manager, that'd be 1,000 managers. So that means for every 10 managers, you might have a director which would be 100 directors. For every 10 directors, you have a VP. You have 10 VPs. Does that mean you have to have like one senior VP for every 10 VPs for every, like you could just see like that structure is almost inevitable to kind of form. Is it possible to avoid that?
Well, I mean, I guess the question is it possible to avoid it and do what? Right? I mean, obviously, we all agree that it's possible to avoid it in the sense that you could just not have it. The question is, how effective is it? And I guess the one thing I would point out is we do know that you can be, let's say, 500 employees and not have any management. Because obviously, Valve is like massively dominant and makes infinity cash per year. They almost certainly have a massively higher per employee income for the company than does, say, an Amazon or something like that. And they don't have that structure, right? So we do know you could do it with 500. The question is, can you do it with 5,000? Maybe not. Can you do it with 50,000? Maybe not, right? And so there may be a natural size at which, if you don't go ultra hierarchy, there's really nothing you can do.
Trash, you're the only one left of us that actually work at a company that fulfills this kind of size and requirement. Now, before I left Netflix used to be known as this bastion away from all the Silicon Valley, which was you come there, you're a senior engineer, you get ownership, you just go in and you get after it. And then 2020 happened, COVID happened, we must hire younger, more green people happened. We actually brought in a whole group of Amazon management specifically from Amazon. And then levels started happening, process started happening. Is this just inevitable, Trash? Are you feeling the burn of middle management over there?
I thought that was how Trash got hired.
How dare you? First of all, I want to start this with all opinions are my own. And if anyone from my company sees this, it does not reflect any of their views. I'm just gonna protect myself here. Okay.
Smart, very smart.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, oh no.
They have at
I was
least
like,
a 2-password policy for
like
sure.
my stomach got like very tight when he started introducing me. I was like, I mean, I'll say this. I've been around the block, and I've been a part of like some big companies like banking and stuff like that have like way bigger engineering structures. And in my experience, to be honest, like, so I've been from big to startups. Netflix is kind of like in the middle. I still think they run fairly lean compared to like an Amazon, obviously, and like Facebook and all those other big thing companies. So like in that sense, like for me already seeing like the extreme spectrum of like huge middle management, like in banking, you basically end up in meetings where no one even has the power to make a decision. And then you just basically keep passing that on. And then you ultimately get to the end where whoever can make the decision will potentially make the decision in the complete opposite direction of all the other people having the meeting. And I've seen this time and time again of all my previous companies. Is it inevitable? I don't know. What I think is going to happen is Amazon is probably going to, flatten it. I do like flat. The advantage of having a flatter structure is faster decisions. You don't have to go through all this bureaucracy bullshit. Like you as an IC actually have like, you feel like you have control of what you're doing. So I think this is what's going to happen at Amazon. But I absolutely think that they're just going to backtrack in like 3 months when everyone in every team just starts building things that no one even cares about. Right? If you put like, sometimes when you put engineers in charge, they usually build what engineers think are important and not necessarily what the customer wants. And I've seen this basically in every company, not even excluding Netflix, right? Where I think this is important. I have a use case for this. And then like you go 3 months and you're like, oh shit, we just built the wrong thing. So I think that's actually what's going to happen at Amazon. So I guess we'll see. I have a lot of other like mean thoughts about like Amazon. Like what is the culture that they're referring to? I feel like my sample size is pretty big. I feel like everybody I know that either works at Amazon or has left Amazon has completely hated it. So I actually tried to like Google the culture doc before this, and like it didn't even show up in the first results. So I don't even know what the culture is. So I would love to know like what they would be going to the office
I
for.
believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Amazon culture is that of the Judge Dredd culture of Mega City 1. People go in, meat comes out. Like I'm pretty sure that has always been the general goal.
Well, can you correct me though if I'm wrong here? Isn't Amazon the company where you have like everyone's dog is at work?
No, that'd be more like that was like the old Google days, right? That was the old that was really just like old Silicon Valley days. I think those days have largely passed where everything's just like, hey, bro, we got our dogs at work and it's super cool.
So they're not allowed to do that anymore.
I don't know if they're allowed or not allowed to bring their
Okay.
dog to work at this point. I know there was a couple dogs at Netflix. There was a few there, but there
Okay.
wasn't very many.
Okay.
It was not really considered like a thing people did, generally speaking.
Because in the early days of Amazon, anyway, the dogs were everywhere. It was just like a dog fest there.
Really? Is this
Oh,
like
yeah.
a well-known fact?
What if you're allergic?
absolutely. I knew tons
Get
of
a
people
different job,
at
Trash.
early Amazon. Yeah.
Trash, why do you
This
hate
is
dogs?
our culture. He's like, it's Amazon's culture. We like dogs. We're not cat people.
No, like dog poop in the elevator as a common thing
That
was
is
like early
disgusting.
Amazon. No, like well, not. I mean, I shouldn't say early Amazon because there wasn't an elevator at very early Amazon. Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, at the tier where they like early 2000 N or something like that. Then. And so like I always thought the return to office thing. I was like, when I saw that part of the memo, I'm like, gosh, I hope there isn't dog poop everywhere, because that would be a good argument for staying home as well, because that just sounded awful. Especially as a cat person, I'm like, I don't want dogs everywhere. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail that.
That's fine.
I
was
thinking
beautiful.
dog. I think Amazon. I think dog poop.
I was unaware of the lore of Amazon. Now, TJ, you actually have been remote working for quite some time.
I have.
Now, I've been led to believe that remote work is actually not possible and produces 0 engaged workers. Is this actually how it is?
Well, I started streaming while I was working remote, and then I quit my job. So I mean, you're asking the wrong guy, dude. Do not put me as the poster child of remote workers here.
Let's phrase. Okay, it's good for your personal development. Let's say
Oh, there we go.
there's a way to phrase it.
Career advancement was high. I went from employed with a job my parents kind of understood to unemployed with something my parents definitely don't understand.
Oh my.
Well, I have a question though for Trash. Trash, do you think currently the managers at Amazon are solving problems that customers like want? Because I liked your point that I think engineers do tend to like to solve the problems that interest them, but I guess like it's kind of compared to what? I'd be interested if you think like Amazon's current scenario is such that they're currently solving the customer problems.
I feel like in middle management, that objective kind of disappears and everyone kind of just cares about their name being visible, because there's just so many layers to the cake that ultimately they just want to make sure that, whoever's above them knows that they're doing their job. And I'm not saying this is what's happening at Amazon. I've just seen this happen personally.
You're just saying it happens at Netflix, is what you're trying to say.
Flip, you gotta edit that out. You gotta, please. I swear. What if I actually get fired the next week? I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just a full-time
It
streamer.
would be
like
because
Tisha
of the
Brown.
password. That's
it would
why.
definitely be the
It's not
password.
this episode.
No, but seriously, like when there's just so many like layers of power, people just need to impress and just have their name there. I mean, that's also why you have project managers too. It's not necessarily the actual management. Like project managers exist for these specific reasons. If you cut them out and it's just the manager and they kind of have both the roles, I don't know. I can't say for Amazon, but I would give it like a 90% chance that they're not really actually thinking about customer problems. There's like selfishness to a degree, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I guess we'll find out when they fire all the managers and they make nobody happy.
Well, the funny thing is, they just said all they wanted to do was increase the ratio by 15% or something like that. It's
Yeah,
not even
yeah.
like they're saying we're done with this as a role. We no longer hire middle managers. They're just like, we need less. And all of a sudden Reddit loves middle management. I thought that was
the
Reddit's
strangest
least
outcome.
favorite class. Like maybe they like billionaires less, but there's like so few of them, right? So it's like, I thought Reddit's most hated group was middle managers. They just suck the corporate soul. They're
I
just
was
useless.
convinced
And then all of a sudden,
of it.
think of the middle managers. Oh my goodness.
They're just pulling up the ladder, skill ladders being pulled up, filling it with just useless MBA. So it turns out it actually goes billionaires, then MBAs, then middle management.
Right. It was
Is
hard to
the
tell.
ordering of Reddit hate.
Yeah.
But how do you even get to the 15%? They're like, Jimmy, give me a number. 15%. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was highly logical, Trash. Okay, they went in there and they just said, yeah, it's just too many.
Yeah.
All right,
One
all right.
thing
yeah.
about remote work that I think is funny that like a lot of people. I'll get canceled again for this one, so that'll be fun. At least one episode every time an episode, I'll have to say something that Reddit will hate me for, which
That's
was
good.
that even in the announcement. They mentioned this thing called remote, work exception, which I find funny because basically, like, they're saying if we care enough about you, if you're actually a good enough worker, we will bend over backwards to keep you here. So literally, like, getting called back to office for a bunch of people is like just Amazon just saying, we only mildly value your work. You're not good enough to get an exception. Even at Epic, where they have literally just one campus where I worked, there were like 3 people that still could, they somehow got the approval, right? And why is it? They're just so valuable to the company. So I just love sort of like imagining a bunch of Reddit people fuming that, oh, Joe or Sally over there has the remote work exception and it's like, yeah, dude, you haven't done anything for the company.
I mean,
Well, it
to
might be
fair-
more like a driver's license, right? It's like, okay, you have to go take a test, and they put you in front of a computer, and they see like how often you click on like Facebook or something, and that's how they know whether they're going to give you a remote work exception, right? It's like they know like, okay, this is a person who doesn't get anything done unless there's someone sitting very close to them who can see them screwing around, and those people you don't get a remote work exception.
They just have a
It's about
series of
discipline.
social logins. That's all
Yeah.
it is. It's like now log in with Twitter. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
dang. Okay, I guess I log in with Twitter. They're like, sorry, you yap
yeah.
too much on the internet. You are
Yeah,
not
You don't
allowed.
have to 2-factor auth to each of the social things on your work computer. That's how they know. They're like,
Right.
get back in the office. Get back in.
Well, Trash would ruin this test because he would know all of his passwords since they're just one password, and it would
That's a
look
good
like he
point.
logs into social media all the
I
time.
got at least 3 now. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay. All right.
Wow.
Okay.
Progress,
we're moving up
baby.
in this world.
Very
Moving
good.
up.
That's
Trash,
progress.
getting secure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Jeez. Oh, I was not expecting that, but I am a pretty big fan of Reddit and the about face. I think the thing that's most confusing about Reddit is there's this idea of this shadowy cabal that the reason why remote work is ending is because they want the offices to be filled by people who run REITs. And so there's like this shadowy cabal that's putting pressure on the
What?
commercial companies on behalf of REITs so they can have better dividend payouts.
But Amazon owns its buildings.
It's too late. That's not how it works, buddy. Okay,
No,
it's the REITs.
Casey, you don't understand. In
Okay.
the Reddit comments on this thread, they've explained it that the
Oh.
reason that they're doing this is because of corporate real estate.
Okay.
So we
Right.
know this
Must be true.
because they commented it on Reddit and they're a real estate expert.
Yeah, you're a fool, Casey. See, the thing is a building that Amazon owns sitting empty is more expensive and hurtful to the company than a building filled with staff and maintenance and having everybody in there and treats and all the stuff and micro kitchens and all those things. It's actually cheaper to run the building than to let it stay vacant. So it's behooving Amazon to really screw the people by getting them back in.
That is some quality Reddit reasoning right there.
Did you find the errors?
I don't even know what they look. What do they even look like?
They're in the phone.
In the phone?
Yeah, they're definitely in there. I just don't know how we labeled them.
I got it, don't worry.
You gotta figure it out. We're running out of time, Prime. You gotta find them and meet me at the stand-up.
Roger.
They're in the phone. It's so simple.
Get all the context you need to debug your problem because code breaks. So fix it faster with Sentry.